What if I told you a man once fell from nearly 5 miles in the sky, trapped inside a broken piece of an aircraft? No parachute, no control, no escape. And somehow, he survived. This isn't fiction. This isn't luck alone. This is the true story of Eugene Moran, the man who fell from the sky and lived to tell it. November 29, 1943. The war over Europe had reached one of its most dangerous phases. High above the industrial city of Bremen, Germany, the sky had become a battlefield. Dozens of American B-17 flying fortresses moved in tight formation, their engines roaring as they pushed deep into enemy territory. Massive aircraft, heavily armed, built to survive. Among them, one bomber, Rikki-Tikki-Tavi. Inside it, a crew of men who understood the risk. And at the very back of that aircraft sat Staff Sergeant Eugene Moran, the tail gunner, the most dangerous position on the plane. No armor behind him, no one beside him, just 2 machine guns, and a clear view of everything coming from behind. His job was simple: watch the sky and defend the bomber, because anything that came from behind came for him first. For a moment, there was silence. Just the steady hum of engines, clouds stretching endlessly below. But that silence didn't last, because far beneath them, the Luftwaffe had already seen them. German fighters scrambled into the sky. Fast, precise, deadly. Messerschmitt Bf-109s, Focke-Wulf FW-190s. They climbed rapidly, closing the distance. And then, they attacked. From above, from below, from behind. The sky erupted into chaos. Tracer rounds sliced through the air. Explosions flashed across the clouds. Black flak bursts surrounded the formation. Inside Rikki-Tikki-Tavi, everything shook. Metal rattled. Engines strained. And in the tail, Moran opened fire. Bright muzzle flashes lit up the turret. Shells ejected rapidly. The recoil shook his entire body. But he didn't stop. Because stopping meant dying. Enemy fighters screamed past him at terrifying speeds. One mistake, and it was over. Still, the bombers pushed forward. They reached their target. Bomb bay doors opened. And one by one, the bombs dropped. Mission complete. But survival was not. Because now, they had to get home. And that's when everything went wrong. The attacks intensified. The formation began to stretch. And then, Rikki-Tikki-Tavi took heavy damage. Gunfire tore through the fuselage. Engines sputtered violently. The aircraft shook harder now. Controls became sluggish. The pilots struggled. And slowly, the bomber began to drift, falling behind the formation. In aerial combat, that was a death sentence. Because now, they were alone. No protection. No support. Just one damaged aircraft, surrounded by enemy fighters. The Luftwaffe saw it instantly, and they focused everything on that one plane. Attack after attack. Closer now. More aggressive. Inside the aircraft, things were falling apart. Metal screamed under pressure. The entire structure starting to fail. The crew could feel it. They didn't need to say it. They all knew. This wasn't just damage anymore. This was the end. Moran kept firing. Target after target. But something felt wrong. Different. The vibration was getting worse. Too violent. Too unstable. Then, he heard it. A deep, tearing sound. Not gunfire. Not an explosion. Something worse. The sound of metal. Failing. At nearly 30,000 feet. The aircraft began to break apart. Rivets snapping. Panels bending. The fuselage cracking under pressure. Everything slowed. Fire flickered. Smoke filled the air. Debris floated past. And then, the tail section shifted. Just slightly. Then more. The connection was breaking. The rear of the plane, pulling away. There was no control left. No escape. Only one thing was certain. This plane was coming apart. And then, in a single, violent moment, skull. The B-17 split in two. The front surged forward, while the tail fell away. Moran was trapped inside the tail section. No parachute exit. No way out. Just a shattered piece of metal falling from the sky. From nearly 30,000 feet. The tail spun violently. No engines. No control. Only the roar of wind. The ground rushing closer. Faster. Faster. At that height, no one survives. It was impossible. And yet, below him, a forest. The tail section crashed into the trees. Branches snapped. Trunks shattered. The impact slowed. Just enough. When it finally hit the ground, it should have been over. But it wasn't. Eugene Moran was still alive. Barely. Both arms broken. Ribs shattered. And his skull fractured so badly it exposed his brain. No rescue team. No medical support. Just wreckage and silence. Hours later, he was found. Local workers and German soldiers reached the crash site. Despite being the enemy, they didn't leave him to die. He was taken prisoner. But something unexpected happened. He was given medical care. A doctor performed a delicate surgery, placing a metal plate in his skull. A procedure so risky. It could have failed at any moment. But it didn't. Against all odds, he survived. He spent the rest of the war recovering, enduring, living with the scars. And when the war finally ended, he returned home. Alive. Not just as a soldier, but as a man who had defied death itself. A man who fell from 30,000 feet, trapped in a broken aircraft, and lived to tell the story.